You would think by now we would have gotten some questions. We haven't gotten it yet, but this is the current situation down there. This coming to us from Julio Rojas at Town Hall Media, shooting this video of the humanitarian crisis spiraling out of control. Most of these migrants from Central America and Haiti, they are pouring in. And again, what has become a massive humanitarian crisis. Border agents on horseback chasing down those trying to cross the Rio Grande River, where about 15,000 people are now living underneath that bridge. Haitian migrants pleading with President Biden not to deport them, as more than 300 were sent back home on the first deportation flights yesterday. Up to 8 flights a day are scheduled to deal with this crisis, and this could become a mass deportation incident. And joining us now for more on this is the former acting Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Mark Morgan, a visiting fellow with the Heritage Foundation. Mark, great to see you.
Thanks for having me, John.
All right, so President Obama became known as the deporter-in-chief, and now President Biden looks like he is going to be responsible for the biggest mass deportation event in American history. Is that how you see it playing out?
Well, not quite. The mass deportation is being portrayed right now, John. Look, what I say is this is once again a mass misdirection and spin, because what I'm being told the reality is, just like we're doing along all 2,000 miles of the border, is they come out and they talk about these deportations because it's a really good soundbite in the middle of a catastrophic crisis. But in reality, the majority of individuals that are deporting are single adults. Unaccompanied minors are still being released in the United States, and the overwhelming majority of families are being released in the United States. Along the entire southwest border, 85% of families are being released into the United States. And I'm being told that with the Haitians of this crisis right now, that's the same that's happening. Meanwhile, this administration is making it sound like they're deporting everybody. Right now, it's only been a few hundred, and the last count was almost 15,000 Haitians and others were under that bridge.
So what would be the biggest mass deportation event in history? I mean, this is 15,000 people is a lot of people. Their promises are that every single one of them will be processed, not necessarily deported, of course. And, you know, that's the story we're not getting from everyone, Mark. So it's the single men who are being deported, but these folks you expect to stay in the country, the vast majority of them?
Yeah, John, and that's exactly right. Look, I learned a long time ago the intentional omission of material fact is the same as a lie. And that's why I say this administration continues to lie. And I tell you what, look, the chief of the Border Patrol, Raul Ortiz, he has a responsibility as the chief of the Border Patrol to tell the American people the truth and not omit anything. When he gave his remarks, he did not do that. He should be telling the American people that the majority of individuals under that bridge are unaccompanied minors and families. And because of that, the majority of them are being released in the United States, and that the only people we're really deporting are single adults. That's what he should have said. He should have been clear, and he wasn't. In addition to that, what he should be saying is, oh, by the way, the policy that we're using to deport the single adults is Title 42, the CDC policy, which, by the way, was implemented under the Trump administration. How convenient, how it just filled with hypocrisy. This administration wants to say how inhumane the Trump policies were, but at the same time, in the middle of a crisis, they're bragging about how they're using Title 42 to remove them, which was a Trump-era policy.
Well, none of it looks humane, I think, to the average person out there. And, it's hard to say what is worse. You know, the notorious, quote-unquote, kids in cages characterizations that we saw from Democrats before with President. We actually knew those pictures came from the Biden administration or the Obama administration. But, these are people living outside in middle of September on the border with Texas and Mexico. I mean, these conditions, I don't know, is this worse than those other holding facilities?
Well, first of all, it's by far worse. And you're right. Those so-called kids in cages were actually created under the Obama administration. But look, I'm hearing from Border Patrol Resources, the stench is horrible. There have been babies that have been born underneath that bridge. The medical care right now is overwhelming. But, John, here's another thing that we're not talking enough about. What is the result of 200,000 apprehensions in last month? And then what's the result of 15,000 Haitians coming across in just a week's time period? What that means in Del Rio, for example, alone, 224 miles of border are going unpatrolled, unprotected. It's wide open. We have lost control. We are seeing a history being made, John, because our borders are absolutely wide open. 224 miles. Federal agents are no longer patrolling. Why? Because they're pulled off the line to transport and to process. And look, the chief said how he's 600, 700, 800 more agents and other employees are coming down to help, meaning the northern border is wide open. That's what we should be talking more about.
Yeah, it's a scary situation. That's why we call them broken borders, plural. We just don't have the resources to get it all done, obviously, based on what we're seeing. Mark Morgan, great to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, John.